Good morning. Welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show. This is a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're back at day 6. This is the album battles that we're doing, or Battle of the Bands if you prefer. Day 6, March the 6th, grouping number 6. So this battle, this was different than any of the other battles, I have to say. This was who backed in and got in. That's basically what this is. So, and I do apologize because this will be out late because I spent a bit of time trying to find one of these bands' albums. You know, it's funny with the internet, you know, if you don't punch it in exactly, sometimes they won't give it to you. So I punched in a bunch of different ways. First I had a couple of, apparently one of the bands has more than one band name that, well, let's just say that there's 2 or 3 bands out there with a similar or identical name to the band, so it took a bit to fiddle through that. Then trying to find the album I wanted, which I did eventually, and then of course trying to get a track listing, which apparently I didn't really need in the long run. So anyways, without further ado, I do apologize because I had to finish it this morning. I'm off today, so I figured I would do it today. So this will be Battle of the Bands number 6, featuring 2 bands, of course, one from Australia and the other one from the US. The band from Australia is Heaven, which features Mark Evans, formerly of AC/DC, on it. So I was intrigued by that right away. And then the other band was Trigger from the US. Okay, the only thing about Trigger is that they were on the Casablanca label, and apparently Gene Simmons had something to do with it, but I won't hold that against them. Okay, so anyway, we'll start with Heaven because that was the first given to me. The album is called Twilight of Mischief. Okay, this is definitely a, well, the band themselves don't fit into this kind of category. This is a band that the music I might classify as hair metal. Some people call it like 80s metal. They do have a bit of a hard rock element to their music, though, a couple of hard rocks. You don't get ballads with metal bands, generally speaking. In fact, I don't know of any, so I'm going to say that that's a hard rock thing. So you have 10 tracks on this album. The band, of course, is from, I believe, Adelaide, Australia, and somebody will correct me if I'm wrong. And they're very, very solid from the top to the bottom. It's a solid kind of hard rock metal sound to it. All the songs are very similar. There's not much variation, and I apologize because I have crap in my eye, but there is one song which is a ballad, and coincidentally it's called The Ballad, which is about near the bottom. So Ben usually likes me to choose a favorite, but in this case there's a couple of songs that I think are very, that I don't mind. I like them. Take You Higher and Storm, both for different reasons. I think the Take You Higher is a very fast-paced song. Most of their songs are very melodical. They're very standard Motley Crue sounding stuff, right? The crashing along at the normal pace with the boring drums in the background. But a lot of people like this stuff, and I can see their appeal for it. It's not my particular taste in music, so if it comes across negatively, I apologize. That's not an attempt to try and knock this. This is just not a style of music I listen to much of. However, there are a couple tracks, like I said, that I like. This one, Take You Higher, fairly heavy, fast-paced guitar song with a nice solo. And in fact, all the songs have pretty decent solos to them for this style of music. But they're all basically the same, heavy guitar riffing with solo. Straightforward hard rock. Same with the second song, same with the third song. This one is a little bit harder, a little bit faster pace, which I enjoyed more. And then the other song I really liked, well, I didn't really like it, but I liked it, which was Storm. It's got a heavy bass opening, which I appreciated because I like Mark Evans. He's from AC/DC. That was good for me. Heavy guitar riff with some nice kind of scraping guitar sounds, like that sound that you make when you're holding the frets down a bit. There's a little bit of that on this song, and I liked it. It was tastefully done. Most of the rest of the stuff is pretty okay. Like, I didn't have any kind of aberration towards any of them songs. It's not my style, but I appreciated it all. The ballad was a little bit more than I would have cared for, but it wasn't done badly. It started out like a ballad, very quiet, like with some sad vocals, and then got heavy, and went back, and then back again. So a little bit different. But most of their stuff is pretty routine. Starts out really heavy, stays heavy, does a guitar solo halfway to 3/4 of the way through, and then finishes off. Almost all their songs were like that. Yeah. The only song on the album I didn't care for was the last track, which was called Suck City. I just didn't, there's something about the song just didn't sit with me well. Other than that, the rest of them were fine. If you like Motley Crue or what's other bands, Helix or something, or even the Headpins, if you like any of those kind of bands, this band is right in your wheelhouse. And if you haven't heard them before, give them a listen. If you like that kind of stuff, this music definitely needs to be played loud, though. This kind of music, usually I'll listen to it better, and I feel better about listening to it if it's really loud. It's hard to get that off of a computer, so you don't get that same effect. But overall, yeah, if you like that style of music, this is the band for you. So now against their competitors, this is where it kind of goes downhill. Sorry. If you are a fan of this band, I do apologize. Maybe it was all the searching around to try and find the right band and then the right album to listen to, the right, finding the album to listen to first. And then, of course, it doesn't give a track listing, but at first I was kind of looking around for that, and then I decided, I'm just going to listen and see if I can figure it out. And it was easy to figure out the titles of all these songs. And if I'm wrong, well, I'm sure somebody will shoot me for it. So, anyways, the band is called Trigger. This is their self-titled debut album from 1978. Oh, by the way, the Heaven Tonight one was a 1982 release. They have an affiliation with Casablanca Records. I believe that's where this album was produced. And that Gene Simmons had something to do with the band, which isn't necessarily a good thing. Could be, but not necessarily. So they've got 11 tracks on here. To me, that's about 5 tracks too many. Yeah, the back half of this album is, to put it mildly, bad. The front half's not too bad. It's passable. There's no really good songs on here, so for me to pick my favorite would be an injustice to the word favorite. And I know I'm being very cynical here, and I apologize for that, but that's just the way I feel about it. Baby Don't Cry is the opening track, and that is all I needed to hear to know where this was going. It's a poppy tune, but it actually is probably one of the better tunes on the album. I hate to say it. And of course, the titles of these songs are just what I picked up from listening to the music, because I never had a track listing. Okay, so Love You Like I Do is the next track. Kind of an interesting guitar riff opening with some heavy tracks and drums. Not a bad song as well. Deadly Weapon, this is where it starts to go south. Not terribly south at this point. Heavy track, a terrible title for a song, if that indeed turns out to be the title for the song, based on his Man Thing. Okay, great. Okay, the next track, similar to that one, Don't Stop, heavy guitar riff. It's another rocking song, not a terrible song. and Give Me Your Love, which is the next one. So I think that's the end of side 1, which was okay. I, at this point, wasn't turned off or anything. I still thought it was okay, so it's getting there. I don't think it's going to beat Heaven, but it's got a chance. And then it goes really south after this. The backside of this album is absolutely garbage. Sorry to put it. I just don't like any of the tracks. The titles, Ready for Love, heard that line before. Rockin' for the USA, Shake It Up, Sunday Buddy, Somebody Love Like You, Where You Gonna Make It. The titles actually aren't too bad. The songs, on the other hand, are terrible. Like, the lyrics are brutal. The guy sounded like he came out of grade 2 when he wrote these songs. Ready for Love, no thanks. Such cheesy lyrics on this song. Probably the worst track on the album. But Shake It Up's pretty close. Like, it's a real neck and neck turtle derby between those two. Okay, so anyways, I don't really want to go on anymore about this album. It went into the tanker. If I had a flusher, I would have flushed it, but I didn't. Yep, that's about how I feel about it. The Heaven album wins by 1.5 miles, not because it's such a great album, but because it is an album. And because it is an album that fits in a genre I don't listen to, but still a good rock album for the genre it's in. I think it's as good as anything those other bands I said did. And if you like that kind of music, this is an album for you. If you like music, Trigger is not an album for you. Sorry, I just don't care for them at all, as you can probably tell. This may be one of the worst bands I've listened to since I started this channel. Definitely is definitely down there. Some of those albums I listened to in the prog music from the 80s were they weren't bad, though. I have to say this. There wasn't anything I listened to from the 80s that I thought was bad music. There was a couple I didn't think were music, and there was a few from that time period that I didn't think were my style. But I didn't really have anything terrible to say about them. This one, I don't want to go on about it anymore because it's irritating me. Anyways, so there you have it. Heaven will win tonight and go on to round 2, and Trigger will go where it belongs, hopefully soon. Take care. Oh, by the way, have a good day.